A week before my sister's wedding, I caught her kissing my boyfriend. I told her fiancé, thinking he wouldn't do anything, but he surprised everyone at the wedding. I'm 28, my sister is 26, and my boyfriend is 29. As her wedding got closer, I noticed she was acting strangely around my boyfriend. At first, it was small things, laughing too hard at his jokes. Even when they weren't funny, she kept finding ways to touch him, like putting a hand on his arm or standing too close. She looked at him in a way that made me uncomfortable. One night after a family dinner, I asked my boyfriend if he noticed anything. He didn't see a problem and told me I was overthinking it, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I started watching her more closely, and it was clear she was always trying to be near him. She sat next to him whenever possible and asked for his help with wedding stuff, even when I was right there. Then, at a family barbecue, I went inside for a moment. When I came back, I saw my sister and my boyfriend standing very close, talking quietly. She giggled, and when they saw me, they quickly moved apart. My stomach dropped. That night, I confronted my boyfriend. He said they were just talking about wedding music. I asked why they had to stand so close. He got frustrated and told me I was imagining things. Feeling like I wasn't getting answers, I decided to talk to my sister. I met her for coffee and told her that her behavior was making me uncomfortable. She laughed it off and said she was just being friendly, but I knew it was more than that. Then, something happened that confirmed my worst fears. I told my sister that she was always finding reasons to be near my boyfriend, touching him, and laughing at all his jokes, even the ones that weren't funny. To me, it was obvious what she was doing, and it made me uncomfortable. As I spoke, I saw her face turn red with anger. She looked shocked that I would accuse her of something like this, especially right before her wedding. She snapped back, saying I must be insecure to think that way. Her words hurt, but I stood my ground. I told her this wasn't about insecurity, it was about respect. I said she had crossed a line and needed to stop. Suddenly, she pushed back her chair, making a loud noise. She said she wouldn't sit there and listen to my crazy accusations. She told me if I couldn't trust my own sister, that was my problem, not hers. Then she stormed out of the cafe, leaving me alone. I felt awful and started questioning myself. Had I overreacted? Was I just being paranoid? When I got home, my boyfriend could tell something was wrong. He asked what happened, and I told him about my argument with Sarah. As I spoke, I saw concern grow on his face. When I finished, he sighed and told me he thought I had made a mistake. He said Sarah would be really hurt, especially with her wedding so close. I felt defensive and asked if he was taking her side. He quickly said he wasn't, but he didn't think Sarah had been flirting. Even if she had, he believed confronting her like that wasn't the best way to handle things. His words made me feel even worse. With tears in my eyes, I asked, so what was I supposed to do? Just ignore it? Seeing how upset I was, he hugged me and said maybe I should have talked to him more first or handled things in a calmer way. Now, he worried that Sarah was mad at both of us and that the wedding would be really awkward. I pulled away and asked, so, this is all my fault? He sighed and said he didn't want to blame me, but he thought I let my emotions take over and might have overreacted. We argued for a while, but we weren't getting anywhere. We just couldn't see eye to eye. The next few days were tense. Sarah stopped talking to me completely. My parents noticed she was upset and called to ask what happened. When I explained, they also thought I had overreacted. The wedding was getting closer, and I didn't know what to do. I was supposed to be a bridesmaid, but I wasn't sure if Sarah even wanted me there anymore. My boyfriend was still invited, and he thought we should go to show there were no hard feelings, but the idea of standing there, knowing Sarah was angry with me, made me sick. I tried calling her many times, but she never answered. I left voicemails apologizing and saying we should talk, but she ignored them. When I went to her apartment, she shut the door in my face. As the wedding day got closer, my anxiety grew. My boyfriend told me to let it go, that things would eventually be fine, but I wasn't so sure. One night, I had a dream that I went to the wedding, and everyone stared at me, whispering and pointing. I woke up shaking, feeling scared. Update. After our fight, things got even worse. Sarah told our mom about what I said, and my mom was furious. She called me, yelling, demanding to know how I could do this right before Sarah's wedding. She screamed, "How could you accuse?" Betrayal uncovered, my sister, my boyfriend, and the truth. After I confronted Sarah, everything got worse. She told our mom about my accusations, and my mom called me, furious. "How could you accuse your own sister of something like that?" she shouted. I tried to explain my side, but she wouldn't listen. Instead, she demanded that I fix the mess immediately by apologizing to Sarah, saying the family was under too much stress. Now, Sarah wouldn't speak to me, and my parents were angry. Meanwhile, my boyfriend Tom kept saying I was overreacting, which only made me feel more frustrated and sad. 1 week before the wedding, I went to my parents' house to try and smooth things over. As I approached the front door, I heard soft voices coming from the side of the house. Curious, I walked toward the garden, and then I stopped dead in my tracks. There, partly hidden behind a large plant, I saw Sarah and Tom locked in a passionate hug. Sarah's legs were around Tom's waist, and his hands were under her top. They were so lost in each other that they didn't notice me. It felt like a punch in the stomach. I couldn't breathe and was frozen, unable to move or speak. When I realized what I was seeing, a wave of anger and heartbreak hit me. I screamed, "What the hell is this?" My voice trembled with raw emotion. They immediately pulled apart, looking guilty. Sarah's face went pale, and Tom stammered, "It's not what it looks like." But it was exactly what it looked like. Tears streamed down my face as I choked out, "How could you? My own sister and my boyfriend?" The pain in my voice was clear. Sarah started crying and tried to apologize, "I'm so sorry. We didn't mean for this to happen." I couldn't take any more. The betrayal hurt too deeply. Without another word, I turned and ran. Their desperate calls for me to stop didn't reach me. I jumped into my car and sped away, my mind reeling in disbelief. While driving, my phone buzzed nonstop, first Tom, then Sarah, then my mom. I ignored every call, because the pain was too overwhelming. When I got home, I knew I couldn't stay. I quickly packed a bag with clothes and essentials. Before leaving, I sent Tom one final text. "We're done. Don't try to contact me again." Then, I turned off my phone, cutting off all communication. Now, I'm sitting in a hotel in a nearby city, not knowing what comes next. The wedding is just days away, but I can't imagine going. My relationship is over, and my bond with my sister might never be repaired. Everyone told me I was crazy for suspecting something was wrong. But in the end, I was right, and that truth is almost too much to bear. Update: the wedding that never was. After I discovered Sarah and Tom together, I spent days and a days, trying to understand everything. My phone kept ringing with calls and messages from my family, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. Eventually, I realized someone needed to know the truth: Sarah's fiancé, Mark. With a heavy heart, I called him. When he answered, his voice was full of confusion. "Sarah's been a mess. She said you disappeared and won't talk to anyone." "What's going on?" he asked. Taking a deep breath, I told him everything. I explained my suspicions, how everyone, including Tom and Sarah, had dismissed my concerns, and finally, what I had seen in my parents' garden. Mark stayed quiet, only making small sounds to show he was listening. After a long pause, he calmly said, "Thank you for telling me. I need time to process this." Then he hung up. I had no idea what he would do next. As the wedding day approached, I heard nothing from him or the rest of my family. Sarah stopped trying to contact me, and I began to fear that she had convinced Mark to forgive her. The thought that she might get away with it, that she could have her perfect wedding while my life was falling apart, made me feel sick. On the morning of the wedding, I decided not to attend. I spent the day alone, trying to figure out how to rebuild my life after such deep betrayal. That evening, my cousin Emma called with an urgent tone. "Oh my God, you won't believe what just happened." My heart pounded. "What?" I asked. Emma explained that everything had seemed normal at first. Sarah looked beautiful, and Mark was at the altar. But when it was time for the vows, Mark suddenly stepped forward. He told everyone he had something to say. Then, in front of all the guests, he announced he couldn't go through with the wedding. He explained that Sarah had betrayed her own sister by getting involved with her boyfriend. The church fell silent. Sarah turned pale and then burst into tears as Mark apologized to my parents, saying they deserved to know why I had distanced myself from the family. Gasps filled the room and whispers began. My parents looked shocked and confused. Then, Mark walked out, leaving Sarah sobbing at the altar. It was like something out of a movie, Emma said, still in disbelief. Everyone is in shock. Your parents are trying to get the full story from Sarah, but she's a complete mess. I sat there, absorbing every word, feeling a mix of vindication and deep sadness. The truth was finally out, but it had torn my family apart. I wasn't sure if things would ever be the same again. Emma asked softly, "Are you okay?" I hesitated and replied, I'm not sure. I never wanted it to end like this. After a few more minutes of talking, I hung up, sitting in silence. The truth was out, but at what cost? My relationship was over, my bond with my sister was shattered, and my family was in crisis. I realized that even though the truth came out, it wouldn't fix everything. Healing and rebuilding trust would take a long time. But for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a small sense of relief. At least now, I could move forward without the weight of secrets dragging me down. Final thoughts. Right now, I'm taking things one day at a time. Eventually, I'll have to face my family, but I'm not in a hurry. This ordeal has taught me to trust my gut, even when others try to make me feel like I'm overreacting. If you're going through something similar, believe in yourself. Don't let anyone make you doubt your instincts. Thank you to everyone who supported me. Your kind words mean more than you know. Please leave your comments. We're looking forward to your comments and channel subscriptions. See you in the next video. Thank you for watching till the end.